Leonarda Cianciulli, infamously known as the Soap-Maker of Correggio, secured her place in the annals of serial killer history with a particularly twisted kind of creativity. Picture this. One day, your friendly neighbor, a doting mother and cherished friend, invites you over for coffee and cake. You accept, savoring the sweet pastries without knowing that part of the ingredients is human flesh. Yes, this is what Leonarda Cianciulli did. But her insanity didn't stop there. She also turned her victims into soap and gifted these gruesome bars to her neighbors. So, what pushed her over the edge into this bizarre madness? Strap in for the chilling details of one of history's strangest tales of human depravity. Leonarda Cianciulli, born in 1894 in Montella, Italy, endured a childhood that might explain her eccentricity. Her mother, by all accounts a cruel woman, frequently told Leonarda that she was cursed by the devil and doomed to a life of failure. In her teenage years, Leonarda attempted suicide twice. Sadly, life didn't improve for her, and each day was a battle for survival. Later in life, she met a man who worked as a clerk, but her mother vehemently disapproved, adding further strain to Leonarda's already difficult existence. Her mother might as well have been another kind of serial killer, given how she relentlessly tormented Leonarda. In total, Leonarda gave birth to 17 children, though tragically, only 4 survived past the age of 10. After all this heartache, she became fiercely protective of her surviving kids. She adored her children, but was consumed by anger at the misfortunes that plagued her life, more than just the loss of children. Though her imprisonment for fraud at age 33 was her own doing, the earthquake that destroyed her home a few years later was yet another stroke of bad luck. Despite her woes, Leonarda was reportedly well-liked in her community, though internally, she believed her mother's claim that she was cursed. Seeking answers, she consulted a fortune-teller, who only added fuel to her fears by saying, "In your right hand I see the prison, in your left a criminal asylum." Though Leonarda's life had been harsh, she outwardly seemed fine. Neighbors saw her as a caring mother to her beloved children. But underneath, a sinister secret was brewing. Between 1939 and 1940, at the age of 42, Leonarda murdered 3 women from her community. Her motivation wasn't pure evil, at least in her mind, but a twisted belief that human sacrifices would break her curse and protect her children. She was particularly concerned about her favorite son, Giuseppe, who had just enlisted in the Italian army and was preparing to head into the chaos of war-torn Europe. In a warped effort to save him, she resorted to human sacrifices, much like the Aztecs who believed blood offerings could appease the gods. Leonarda lured her victims into her shop, drugged them, and then killed them with an axe before attempting to dissolve their remains with caustic soda. However, disposing of a body isn't so simple. In her diaries, Leonarda described the leftover remains as a thick, dark mush. Rather than discard it, she took things a step further. As animal fat is often used in soap making, she realized human fat could do the same. After rendering the fat into soap, she distributed the bars to neighbors. But that wasn't all. She also used some of the human remains to make crunchy tea cakes, which she served to her unsuspecting neighbors. And this wasn't an act of malice against them, as she and her sons ate the cakes too. Leonarda even described the victims as being particularly sweet. Fortunately for her victims, Leonarda wasn't a criminal mastermind, and she was eventually caught. Aside from turning her victims into soap and cakes, she also swindled them out of money. She convinced the women she was about to kill that she had secured a prestigious teaching position for them abroad. She even made them write letters to their families explaining their upcoming departure. Of course, there was no job, only a gruesome fate. One victim, Virginia Cachopo, disappeared, and her sister reported that the last person to see her was Leonarda. Suspicious of the story, her sister suspected something far more sinister. She was right. The police initially accused Leonarda, but she denied everything. However, when the authorities turned their suspicions toward her beloved son, Giuseppe, she cracked. She confessed to the murders, including the soap and cakes. Later, Leonarda chillingly remarked that Virginia had been her best victim, praising both the cakes and the soap she made from her. It's no surprise this case became a notorious sensation in Italy. After a brief 3-day trial, Leonarda was sentenced to 30 years in prison and 3 years in a criminal asylum. She died at the age of 76 from a cerebral apoplexy in 1970. Leonarda Cianciulli still strikes fear into the hearts of people today. Her murder weapons, including the pot she used to boil her victims, are on display at the Criminology Museum in Rome, Italy. And that's the unsettling tale of a cannibal who managed to turn her victims into both a culinary treat and a fragrant soap. Is this one of the worst cases you've ever heard of? Is she pure evil? Or does she deserve some sympathy? Let us know in the comments.